All right, welcome to the special edition of the Ave Podcast, where I will affectionately call this podcast episode Daredevil's Advocate. So this is a slight two-part miniseries that we'll be discussing Daredevil's latest season, Born Again. I'm joined by South Sharad family member Kevin W., who was riding shotgun with me the last time I did something like this to break down the final season of Snowfall. How you doing today, sir?
Not bad at all. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah,
it's
man.
been a while.
Yeah, man. No, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I didn't think this season was going to be. I didn't think the season was going to be as good as it's been so far. I know we're going to get into that in a moment, but I would say pre-game or pre Daredevil and post Endgame. What were your thought? What are your thoughts about Marvel since, or the MCU for that matter, since Endgame?
It's been a roller coaster. I think they had a perfect recipe, and then some.
Oh.
I think it's safe to say that we've been on a bit of a roller coaster ever since Endgame. Endgame, I think, was like Godfather Part 2. And everything else we got after that was pretty much Godfather Part 3-ish, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Things kind of went left.
Version?
No. More like The Roots, things fall apart. It was really like some of it went bad, and unfortunately Daredevil was a casualty as a throwaway character, and some extras and some like Easter eggs and the infamous walk of shame that he had. Was it in She-Hulk or Jessica Jones or something like that? Mm-hmm. I'm glad that we have a chance to have a reset. Yeah. Like to get back to the original elements, and like, because what Netflix had was lightning in a bottle. It was perfect. And some of those movies as well, like how they all built together and they had interlocking pieces and everything, that was perfect. I don't know if agenda-based storytelling for comic books resonated with everybody that it was supposed to. Comics are supposed to be fun. It's also supposed to be fantasy. And yeah, this is for this, right? Like, as we know, like Daredevil can, you could throw someone off a building and they can just like readjust their neck and walk it off.
Back,
comics.
Yep.
Comics. So anyway, what do you think?
It's definitely, I mean, it's definitely tailed off since the apex of Endgame. You know what I mean? Like it's, and especially, and I mean, that had to come, especially after some of the characters in MCU has passed or, gotten old or whatever, and they kind of phased some of these guys out. You know what I mean? So the next evolution is kind of like Star Wars or Star Trek. At a certain point, new characters have to come in. You say no?
Oh, for Star Wars?
No. I'm just saying at some point it's not all about Luke Skywalker. There's some points they've moved on from certain things. That's what I mean.
Okay, yeah, safe. Because Jar Jar Binks was not. I don't know if Jar Jar Binks was on anybody's Christmas list of. That's what you see. That's what happens when you tamper too much with a good thing.
Yeah, and then I think MCU's been hurt by a few things. Like, I mean, I think Chadwick Boseman passing away is probably, one of the biggest casualties, unfortunately, of MCU, because I think he was projected to be a huge star. He might have been the new Iron Man, or at least one of the top characters for that. So for him to be lost in that fashion, I think it's, I think that was huge for the trajectory of MCU. And I mean, there's been some decent projects or good projects since then. Like the Spider-Man, the No Way Home was good. The Shang-Chi was good. Captain America and the Winter Soldier, excuse me, was solid. I don't know why you're looking funny. Don't be looking at me all crazy.
Shang-Chi was good.
Shang-Chi? Was that?
Shang-Chi was good?
I like Shang-Chi. I thought it was solid. I'm not saying it was
Okay.
great, but I thought it was solid. I got kids, man. You know, it was solid. It was solid to me. You know, but and then I would say, of course, X-Men '97 has probably been the best thing that's come out. You know, post Endgame. Holy cow! I mean, I think we were supposed to revisit last year. Unfortunately, some things happened, but I think we would have to come back and revisit it because, or at least I don't know if a season 2's coming this year. But man, that was crazy. But
10 episodes, 9 out of 10. To me, perfect build up, and the fact that they barely touched on Wolverine because they already had Wolverine coming out in the the Deadpool Wolverine movie, which, in my opinion,
that was.
They haven't even, but the way they can develop characters and like get you really involved and get you to like, there's a lot more character development and like exploration into like who these people are.
Yeah,
amazing. Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and I should say spoiler alert too. I probably forgot to say that, like, we usually do. Spoiler alert, because we're talking about Daredevil if you haven't seen it yet. But anyways, like I think moving to Disney Plus, I think the focus was, man, is this going to be is it going to lose its edge? You know what I mean? Because it was on Netflix before, and Disney Plus, it's a family. It's a family subscription, right? So you're not sure how some of these shows are going to be, but man, was I wrong about that? I was off about that because I think it somehow became a little edgier. It also, the actual elevated cinematography of this show to me is what it actually catches me every week, just in terms of certain shots and how they're shooting certain things. We're going to get into that a little bit more, but just there's so many things that it just feels elevated. It feels elevated from Netflix, which I was surprised because Netflix, it's you could do whatever you want on Netflix, outside of like going past rated R, but Disney Plus, like I was not expecting any of that. I think that was a scare, right? Because I think they even said when they brought over Daredevil in the Punisher series, they weren't going to show certain scenes. They were talking about that because it's too gory and stuff. And I'm like, come on, man, like. No,
his name's the Punisher.
What's that?
His name's the Punisher, and he has no superpower except for anger and vendettas, of which I'm a fan, by the way. And he goes around New York. The whole premise: he goes around New York getting revenge, killing people, shooting people. Yeah. How are you going to make it like they should know what they're getting into, and there are no great Daredevil stories. The greatest Daredevil stories, what saved Daredevil was actually the Frank Miller writings. Like when Frank Miller came over, when he was tasked with taking on the Daredevil writing for Daredevil in the 80s, that's when Daredevil sales, because they were dropping late 70s or early 80s. I think it was early 80s, but the sales were dropping. They were almost going to cancel it, and then they just threw him a bone. Like, here, you try your hand. You try your hand at it, and it just started taking over. Like it started taking off, and he got more creative liberty to not only just write the stories, but he got to draw them as well. And he got to put his theme and put his footprint basically into Daredevil into a way where it wasn't as campy. It's kind of like when, Joel Schumacher? Joel Schumacher had Batman, and he had what was the one with Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones and Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman. Was that Batman Forever?
Oh yeah.
Right, great character, but Schumacher took it there, right? But then we have Christopher Nolan. He got same character, and he's like, I'm taking him here. And then we have the Dark Knight trilogy, basically, right? Same thing with Frank Miller. Yeah, because Daredevil used to be a little bit campier, but then we got to, and he borrowed Kingpin from Spider-Man, and he's like, I want this to be one of his main villains, and then Kingpin's going to be the Joker to his Batman, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and honestly, Kevin, this is one of those things where, for shows, I don't really get up for a lot of shows at this point now, but the last time I've had this feeling of like every week looking forward to a show, especially in this on-demand world that we're living right now, honestly, for me, it's Billions. Like that, I don't know if you follow Billions or watch Billions, but that's the last show to me that was like that has me like, oh man, it's Tuesday. It's 9:00. I gotta watch. Most things I wait for to watch maybe a few days later, but that's like the first time probably in the last couple of years where I'm like, nope, I need to watch this show like now. Or as soon as it comes out, we're watching that. We're not going to bed till we watch this, And the wife's included in that because same thing. She's a huge fan of this show.
For me, it was Game of Thrones had me like that. Walking Dead had me like that. Power had me like that.
Yeah.
Love is
First
Blind.
Season of Power. Yeah.
Yeah, had me like that. You're letting me get away with the Love is Blind one?
Oh, I didn't hear that part. I don't know what your preferences are, bro. You might have a guilty pleasure. I don't know.
X-Men had me like that as well.
Yeah,
and
one too.
And yeah. Paradise was the last thing where I'm like, I have to watch all. Like, yeah, but I don't want to put myself through that 1980s torture anymore, right? You know what I mean? Where you have to wait. When we'll be back after 2 weeks or cliffhangers. Like, just give me the 8. I'll get my snacks. I'll lock myself off and let me get into it. That's one thing I like about this. But kudos to Disney and Kevin Feige, I think his name is. He's the one that took over. And I don't know if you know this, but we have 2 basically. He fired the people that were working on this year on Born Again, and he hired 2 other men to come in to produce or make up. But you'll notice like episodes 8 and 9, or was it 7 and 8, are a little bit different than the pacing from episode 1 to 6. They had to like reuse some things, reshoot other things. But what we saw like in this last episode was like, did this get real kind of thing? It's because 7 and 8 are like the new this new writing team who should have been in charge from the beginning, because who knows where this would have gone, right? This would have been incredible. But they're also going to be on for apparently season 2 of Born Again.
Okay, and of course, we got to get to the to the 2 main characters, Wilson Fisk versus Matt Murdock. Like, what are your thoughts of those 2 characters in this season?
Like we'd spoken about this before, right? I like the fact, like some people might be like it's too much Kingpin, but I'm like, no, it's just the right amount of Kingpin for you to know what he's going through and what he's battling. And then there's Matt Murdock in his personal life and everything, but I like the fact that it's not just like superhero, versus villain kind of thing, right? That's for the cartoons. This is more like the characters. So there's a little bit of like what was the 2 episodes ago? When he went through and he took care of Muse and they had the showdown battle, that physical battle, fine. Mm-hmm. Everything else, honestly, to me is just chess pieces. It's brilliant. In their personal life, like in their personal lives, like they're and everyone's wearing masks basically, right? Like, but just the fact, like, they're both, there's a vigilante here pretend like that, but he's a lawyer, and then there's a politician who's a corrupt criminal, like underworld boss. Art imitates life, and it's just how they put everything. I think again, good job this season. What do you think?
I think it's been fun just due to the fact that, the parallel between the 2 main characters, like they're both flawed. You know what I mean? I think like that's what we're kind of seeing throughout this season. It's like they're both trying to leave their past behind, but it's like kind of like their Godfather reference, like it's pulling me back in. It's like watching Kingpin kind of go through the ranks and he's physically trying to fight back the past. Like you're seeing certain like associates talk to him and like his cheek is quivering. You know what I mean? Which I thought was like, wow, that's excellent. Like for them to do that, I'm like, that's excellent acting. You know what I mean? Because it's like I mean, if you know about the Kingpin, and I'm not the comic book person, but I'm like, I do follow the cartoons and the shows and the movies and such. But watching this, I think this is the best version of the Kingpin that we've seen. You know, all respect to Michael Clark Duncan who did it in the movie, but this is like the best. Like he's elegant. He has this kind of persona about him, but you know he is the low down dirtiest character, and he's trying to fight that being the mayor. And you know what I mean? Like, and then he's at the point where he's trying to now kind of use the resources of the city to kind of support what he really wants to do. And you know, as we saw in season 8, you know, the same people that were you know giving him those were giving him yeses, voluntary or involuntarily. You know what I mean? So
you notice. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You notice like how he did it, where he had his gooned vigilantes, like his vigilante squad, standing guard at the door, and he brought them in one by one, and he just sit down with them, and you sit in the chair like a teacher kind of thing. This is, you know what I mean? And he's wearing this white suit of innocence, like he's like, hey, I'm on the up and up, all white. But he's looking down, like he's even the angle. Everyone that was talking to him has to look up at him for the position of power, right? Yep. I think that was, and it was all behind closed doors, and it's like, yeah, that was well done. I do want to pick your brain on something.
Go ahead.
What do you think about I think it was a tribute to Heat, but what do you think about that scene where they sat down from each other in the coffee shop? I think it was episode 1.
You know, I was going to save that for like favorite scenes of the show, but we can get into that because that was my favorite scene. Yeah. That was my favorite scene of the whole show. That's my favorite scene right there because I did catch the Heat reference, but the both of them having that kind of like, you know, tete-a-tete meeting and setting those lines of like, these are the lines that we're going to do here and we can't cross them. And you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do this, I'm going to check you. And if you're going to do this, I'm going to check you, you know? Excellent. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed the Kingpin this season. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably the most layered character on the season, just, you know, being the mayor and trying to handle everything while still trying to struggle with, you know, keeping his wife at bay, who's now kind of handling his old position. You know what I mean? And still handling the past rivals, and you know they're trying to come at him and stuff. And I think trying to resist the urge of going Suge Knight on everybody is like probably one of the. It's honestly is one of the biggest draws to me for the show. You know what I mean?
What do you think of Vanessa's character?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I mean, I don't know how the comic books follow along, but like I think with her, it's you could see she wasn't a part of it before because she was the arts dealer, right? In the first couple of seasons, she was the arts dealer. But I mean, she seems comfortable with the underlife now.
She got corrupted real quick when she saw it. You know what I mean? Like, and she took over the business.
Had a side man.
She took over the business like Marge Shot. You know what I mean? And she's she's rubbing elbows with people, and yeah. Very interesting power play moves, and that's the true definition of a power couple.
Yeah, because the way season 7, sorry, the way episode 7 ended with that goon coming to off Fisk, and she's making the call like, yeah, he's going to be such and such restaurant.
He'll be alone.
But the way they set it up, Kev, I thought like you could look at it as, oh, she's setting the guy up. But you can also, the way they played it, it also looks like she's setting Fisk up. You know what I mean? And the way it ended, it was like he's like, "Oh, let me know what she wants for dinner." It's like, when I left it, I was like, "Oh, are they in cahoots, or does he think, oh, I know what you're doing, and I'm gonna put you down?" So it's like they kind of left it vague, which you know what I mean? Like, you know, by episode 8, we knew, okay, you know, they're more of the power couple than we realized. But like, I think that part of it to me was dope. Like, we didn't know. Like, me and the wife were even talking about afterwards. We're like, okay, like, is he going to offer? Like, are they going to go at each other now? Like, you weren't 100% sure where they left it.
She played that perfectly. Even when Homeboy was I forget what his name was, the tracksuit guy, but yeah. Luca was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Even when he was like proposing everything by the columns, like, hey, listen, I could get rid of him. Her disposition She wasn't even like, how dare you say that? It's just like, oh, interesting kind of thing. And yeah, she handled that right quick. She handled that quite well. I don't know what was it, Monet, Mary J. Blige's character there on.
Oh, in Power, yeah.
No, that Calvin, that is how you run an empire. That is business. That is, and it, like almost like Michael Corleone in Godfather, right?
Yeah.
Never let that lesson. Never let them know what you're thinking. You always remain stoic. You always remain like straight faced, kind of thing. But also that dinner scene, I know it's going to be a bit of a stretch, but it does kind of remind me of when Michael got rid of the police chief and Salazzo. Over dinner, kind of thing. But it was a hit. You cleaned up business real quick, but the fact that Kingpin doesn't even turn around when it was, you know what I mean? He just keeps eating. That is cold, like the level of ice.
Yo,
you know what I mean?
And then while you're saying that, it's making me think of the episode or the scene where he's talking to the police chief and he's talking about his favorite place to go get the Philly cheesesteaks.
Yeah,
and he raises up the paper, and it's his picture of his of his not his family, but his side piece family, his side family. I'm like, yo,
out in Philadelphia,
yo. Even him tearing through his suit jacket, like he can't hold it back. He's going back to who he is, right? Like literally and physically, he's going back to who he was. Yo, that's what I said. It's my favorite character of the. I like him more than Daredevil.
Does art imitate life? Is this how politics really are? Are we going into that? We're not going into that today.
No. But I mean, like I would say the way that he uses his resources for the city. I feel like Donald Trump watches and is jealous. I do think that.
I'm not familiar with this Donald Trump that you speak of. I haven't noticed any parallels, similarities. Mannerisms,
no,
nothing. But yeah, there were a couple of things that made me go, well done. That's similar. That might be that might be a notch. That might be a shout out or a little kind of indication. And here we are.
Yeah. A little sub, like a sub, yeah. But what do you think of Kingpin this season? Because to me, like I said, he's the most layered to me.
I'm not man. Here's what's hard about it. When the acting is good, when the script is good, you might sometimes find yourself rooting for the villain.
Yeah, keep going. I'm listening. I'm actually trying to pull up something from Daredevil from the cast. I just want to keep going.
I'm not going to say that I'm on board with everything that he says, but when the script is good, when the acting is good, you might find yourself being like, I get where he's coming from. And hey, same thing with Magneto and whatnot. You know what I mean? But I think that great choice for Vincent D'Onofrio. I remember one of his most memorable scenes was when he snapped. Because remember, was it season 1 or 2? Probably season 1 or 2, where he had a date with Vanessa and the car door scene, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's when we're like, this is who and I'm like, that's the Kingpin. Like, there's a lot of strength being held back, but like it's always in a suit, always keeping classy. But he's like the character's a trained martial artist, like, and he has no problem Mr. Burnsing his problems away if he has to, right? So, I think that they did a great job building that character, and his network and his web, basically. And it's not so much on Daredevil's side, really, but we're seeing a lot more tentacles to like what Kingpin and his empire, what he has on the police side, who he has in office, who he has like in his personal life. And then, he goes to therapy with his wife and he wants to make things work. He needs a hug from the woman that he loves. he'll give a gun to the woman that he loves and says, "Get rid of this problem for me." And
Mhm.
but yeah, I think this is when casting and scripting and when it all comes together. I think that's why we're so drawn in. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I think no, it's perfectly said. I I think that like when those two when those two unions come together, it makes beautiful art, and that's what we're watching right now. We're literally watching. We're literally at an art exhibit watching something on the wall, going like, yeah, I like this piece because of X, Y, Z. You know what I mean? That's why we're here, right? Like we're like that's I love that part of it. I love looking at it from that perspective because that's when you're doing something, and this is a fact of life. Like when you're doing something the way it's supposed to be done, and you have the right support for that vision to come to pass, it makes beautiful whatever it is, whether it's food, whether it's art, whether it's sports, whether it's politics, whatever it is. Like it makes beautiful,
Music.
beautiful, beautiful music, man. Like and this is what you want to see. That's
Yeah.
what you want in life, right? Like when the marriage comes together, it's a perfect union, and I think this is kind of part of what we're seeing here, right? Like I said, the storylines, everything's been written. Like I can't argue with this, man. Like there hasn't been a lot of they've made some. I mean, nothing. It's funny. The one thing that to me that's like, if I can nitpick on, which sounds funny to say, it's still good, but it's not as good as the script writing. Actually, it's the fighting scenes. I find the fighting scenes like it's okay. It's okay, but it's like I guess because we're so used to watching the other characters in MCU and stuff, it's like I know they don't have superpowers necessarily, Daredevil, so to speak, but like it's not. It's like it's probably like a B. You know what I mean? Where it's not an A. Like the fighting scenes aren't an A, but I think when you're comparing it to the script writing, it kind of sticks out a little more to me. But to me, when I
Yeah.
look at it, I'm like I like the fight scenes, but it's not. It could be at a higher level. It's not as great as the script writing, which is fine. You know what I mean? Because I think this season, the storyline is probably the most important part, and it's not necessarily action scenes.
So I mean, I don't know who the choreographer was or what the budget was, but what we had with the Elektra storyline when he fought in that corridor, when he fought the hand and he was going, remember that? And kept going down one floor to the next, and it was just battling, and that was fantastic. The
Right.
choreography, like everything was great. This season, because we're focusing so much more on characters, I don't. I'm like, they're trying. Yeah, it's Disney Plus. Yeah, the money's probably got burnt up in other projects that are on DVD at your local gas station. Fill up a tank, get a copy of so and so, right? I'm not gonna say the names of
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But like, we don't need to see Daredevil that. You know what I mean? It's that good. Like, does it really make a difference? Like, would it put it over the top? You'd be like, yo, did you see the fights? No, because it's
No.
still that good. The past two episodes, amazing, man. And like the whole build up, because they did have to like restructure quite a few things on the move, like
Yeah.
because what are we right? Not we're getting 9 episodes,
Yeah. It's
and
well,
one of them is a hodgepodge, but 7 and 8 are completely like that's the new. Those are the new guys,
yeah.
and the ones from 1.5 through 6, that was somebody else's slow paced vision. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's good. I'm thankful that the technology has caught up to the fantasy of these comic books, and that we have
Yeah. We're
such a
hearing that.
a treasure chest of like great stories from 40 years ago that they can just you know adapt and bring to the screen. Maybe make some small modifications, but I wouldn't go as far as like what don't go too far would be my
Yeah.
thing.
And it's interesting because um, watching Kingpin be at the stage where he's jealous, you can see the kind of jealousy that he has of Daredevil popping back up, especially when he saved the therapist from Muse,
Yeah.
and he's making his task force take credit for it. It's almost like Kanye being jealous of Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? it's like it's awesome. I think that part is interesting to watch too. Just like he's slowly like he's going back and it's like, oh, like this guy's popping back. Oh, and he's taking credit away from me. Like may not have that.
Brilliant. And again, another chess piece because he's installed this task force to insulate him from Daredevil just in case, right? So he has people that are going to die, but also place them, okay, just etch a sketch the good that he did, and I'll put it around my task force. Which is awesome, right? I think even was it Cherry? I think it was Cherry that was just like, yeah, everybody knows that this was Daredevil. Like, you kidding me? Like, like no task force did anything like that. Jealous? Okay. I don't know if it's jealousy because he could have him killed. I think they have the Batman Joker style relationship where they need each other. Yeah. They know they're going to cross paths forever and ever. One is never going to join the other side. Like, they're never going to cross, but they, like, as we just saw in this past episode, like Bullseye predicted it. You'll have to defend the one that you hate. Like, you'll have to take, you'll take a bullet for the guy that, because your problems could have ended right there. You'd have been right there. You had a perfect alibi, but instead he hops ahead. He takes the bullet, and now he becomes. This is again the chess piece. He becomes a sympathetic figure. Who's the guy that took a bullet for the mayor, right? Because he was struggling. He was struggling as a lawyer, but now, no, I'm a hero. And again, he's blind, and like this is perfect. But we'll see. Do you think it's jealousy?
I was about to say, do you think it's more jealousy now that he got shot and he didn't take the bullet?
It's perfect plagiarism. It's one person stealing the other person's, like, taking credit for the other one's work. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. I kill Muse. Okay, I'm sorry. I was there to save the therapist from Muse. Kingpin's going to take the credit. I'm the mayor, but nope, I'll just go hop right in front and save him look to protect you. How could I ever be seen as a bad person in the public's eye if you try framing me as anything? I took a bullet for the mayor of New York City. So it's always getting ahead of the other person.
How do you feel about Foggy going to see Tupac in the afterlife?
This is Marvel. Did they bury him?
I mean, I'm assuming yes, but you're saying he's going to come back?
Is he buried?
So what do you think, though? Like, what do you think? You think he can come back?
I've been reading comic books a long time. Dr. Octopus was supposed to die in explosions since 1964. Still alive. Joker was supposed to. Robin was supposed to die in that warehouse after being crowbarred by the Joker. Still alive.
But I mean, like, again, he's not a superhero, right? So I don't know.
It's a Marvel character.
Okay. So you're thinking there's a chance he can come back? Because I was surprised by that, but he always seemed to be like Matt's, like, Daredevil's, not Daredevil, but Matt Murdock's balancer. You know what I mean? He's kind of like the homie that kind of brings you back off the ledge. You know what I mean? But I kind of like the unpredictability of him actually getting shot in a sense, just because you kind of lock in more to the story. You know what I mean? If a guy like that dies unexpectedly, if the script is written well, of course. You know what I mean? Like, if it's not written well, then it's like, you're just kind of like, yo, what happened to Foggy? You know what I mean? But as opposed to now, you're kind of like, oh yeah, shoot, Foggy. Like when they do, when Daredevil's going through like his scenes where he's trying to like remember who Foggy was or a certain situation or whatever. And now you're like, oh yeah, Foggy. But you don't find yourself throughout the season like, man, what happened to Foggy? What happened to Paige? You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is, I'm like, okay, that's an example of the storyline being written so well.
So they removed, was it Betty Page, right? They removed Betty?
Yeah.
They removed
the first episode, but that was it.
First episode, gone. Off screen kind of thing. And they introduced a couple new characters. I don't know about the girlfriend therapist thing. I don't know, but at least she's trying to help hold him down ish kind
Yeah,
of thing, which is
she's
good.
kind of the new balance. I don't know how much is working, but she's kind of trying to balance him a little bit.
Well,
But she doesn't know him,
kind of
right?
she kind of went at the vigilantism kind of thing. She has an opposite side on being of vigilantes and whatnot, right? Like
Mhm.
and what their purpose is. Even though she was saved by one, but
Right.
you saw them have that little bit of conflict there in the kitchen where she was taking shots at them. He's like, well, and he was like defending Daredevil. Man, if I had to go through going through getting changed and swinging through the streets of New York City just to come find you and save you, and that's the thanks I get on the
Uh,
couch.
but I mean, again, until she knows that, I'm sure her vision of the vigilante will be different if she knows who he actually is, right?
Do you think they'll have a reveal? Because apparently some people do know about who Daredevil
Yeah,
is.
I mean,
Vanessa,
yeah,
Kingpin,
Wilson, yeah,
who
Cherry,
else? Cherry knows. Foggy, we're at 4.
yeah.
I'm surprised other people haven't figured stuff
I think
out.
those are the
But
only ones. And does Paige know? Is she kind? Well, she knows, yeah. But I mean, but she's not in this season. So, but I'm like, until she finds out, if she finds out the next episode. But if she finds out, then that's a little bit different. Her thoughts might be a
Punisher,
little different. Yeah.
Punisher, he knows.
Oh, Punisher, yeah.
Thank you for not tampering with this. Like, thank you. There's a little segment of New York where the Punisher, Daredevil, Kingpin, Hell's Kitchen, like the battle for Red Hook and everything. There's that area of New York. Like Spider-Man will take care of Manhattan and whatever else, but this area where like that turf war,
It's my borough.
yeah,
It's
amazing.
my borough. What do you think of BB Aldridge and like the scenes of like shooting all the different citizens of the city, talking about what's going wrong with New York and Hell's Kitchen, and where's the people that save us? What do you think of like that? I guess that point of view that's coming into the season, like as compared to the other two.
Well, those were on the old episodes, right? 1 through 6, not so much 7 and 8.
Right. But the first few, yeah.
The first few under the old writers, I did kind of, that was good. Finger on the pulse to get the temperature of people to see, like, what their thoughts were, kind of thing. I did like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if she's gonna have that much time to start filming and editing her interviews. If she's poking up where she's trying to poke,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it. A lot more deep fryers around New York City, boy. I'll tell you. And yeah,
what do you think of Daniel Blake's character, played by Michael Gandolfini, which is James Gandolfini's son, Tony Soprano's son in real life?
is that Kingpin's assistant?
Yeah, the new one that he promoted.
Oh,
last episode.
Oh,
that's actually Soprano's son in real life.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I had to look it up because I'm like, yo, who is this guy? Because I'm like, this is an interesting character. He's obviously a Trumper. I mean, he's obviously a Kingpin stan. You know what I'm saying? And he's actually a Kingpin stan, and you can see how he's working. Like he'll die for Kingpin. You know what I mean? So I'm like, man, who's this character? So I had to look it up, and I'm like, oh shoot, that's his son. Okay.
I wouldn't have said that. Now, I guess he obviously had to say it. His acting job or his character? Which one do you want to go into first?
Let's go with both.
All right, fine. The character, I'll say nice, like a fresh out of college bootlick kind of thing. Like, I'm down. I'm totally down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's the perfect intern. That scene where he's like, it's him and I forget what the lady, what her job title is. publicist or something like that.
Yeah.
When they're having this talk, and she's just like, well, "This isn't the way it's supposed to be," and I'm like, Kingpin knows what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna find the youngest, he's gonna find himself a patsy, a young sacrificial lamb, somebody that's eager to prove himself. Then you put him to the test. I'm telling you, because he probably knows that Kingpin probably knows the BB and his, and his relationship, right? And he, as the Kingpin, he probably also knows that this girl's starting to be a thorn in my side.
Yeah.
So,
but I get the impression that he's not afraid. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Like he's somebody that looks like he's almost not willing to go to the other side, but I don't think he would dismiss it if it had to be done. Just the fact the way that he warned BB on the way she's kind of climbing up the ladder, I'm like, it kind of tells you like, ooh, there's somebody that's looking to, be a Kingpin light, possibly, in the future. Not right now, of course, because he's just starting out, but like you could see like there's a bit of shadowism there. You know what I mean?
So let's just do a quick rogues gallery. Has the Kingpin killed anybody himself this season?
Technically, no. He's beaten the side man, but outside of that,
classic scene in Godfather is when Michael comes back from Italy. Again, another Godfather reference, but it's all based out of New York. He comes back from Italy after the car blows up.
Yeah.
He bumps into Kay when she's like babysitting these kids, and he goes for a walk down the street with his like bolo hat kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And he's talking about, but they say things about your father. He's like, he mentioned something about like just like any other politician and whatever, right? Like it's a slander, like they can go after my father, our family, like they do politicians. And then she goes, yeah, but politicians don't get people killed, Michael. And then he goes, now who's being naive, Kay? Now, for that scene, Kingpin, now that he has ascended to this level, he has not killed anybody. He keeps his hands clean, stays suited, eats his meals, smiles for his press, whatever. Everybody underneath the Kingpin has basically taken a life or injured somebody as a test of loyalty for him. What's his British sidekick there? Is the guy in the suit that came to the door?
Let me look it up.
I'm not so good with the names right now, unfortunately, but that guy is his creepy sidekick kind of thing, right? Mm-hmm. He's taken a life, probably more than one.
Yeah.
Vanessa's taken a life. There you go.
Yeah.
The police chief has made a crispy hand, right? Not the police chief, but the vigilante guy. He's taken a crispy hand. And who knows what else they've probably done off screen, like off camera, basically to upkeep, this their vigilantism, because they said that there are tons of cases of like excessive police abuse ever since he gave that group their power.
Right.
But who's the one person that hasn't had their test of loyalty to the Kingpin and his, and his cause? It's our boy. It's the guy that just said that he would burn. He'd burn for him or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he hasn't stepped up yet. But you're seeing like there's a possibility where he can get his hands dirty. He's willing to get his hands dirty, and that can mean anything. You know what I mean? Because to your point, like for the fact that like even his wife is pulling triggers. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't expecting that, but she's already there anyway, right?
He in the comics, he has an obsession for Vanessa. Obsession. Right. Like even when his wife falls, like the same way, like how what Aunt May was to Peter Parker, or Mary Jane was for Peter Parker. Sorry, right. But just like whenever he was near, like losing it or whatever, he'd always like say like, Aunt May, Mary Jane, or when it was Gwen Stacy or something like that. So she's his anchor, But if he loses her, yikes.
Yeah,
But he's
real problems.
I think he's going to have to prove himself and see if he's if he's about it for the Kingpin soon, because it's a season finale, and I think there are some loose ends that need to be tied up, and things need to escalate a little bit for us to be on pins and needles till next year.
Do you think the White Tiger and Muse characters were gone too early?
White Tiger's an auxiliary character, so okay. I didn't know him to die like that. Like, sheesh. That was dark.
And who knocked him off? Was it Muse, or was it like, I thought it was a Punisher, but
the Punisher crest was there, but that's also the logo of the police of the vigilante force.
Right.
So I don't know. We don't know yet who that was. They showed that clip on multiple episodes at the start of every episode as a recap, but they never identified who that was. So I think we might find that out. Yeah, we might find that out. But it wouldn't be Muse, because Muse's MO is not guns, is killing people and making murals with their blood. That's it. So it's not Muse.
Yeah, wild character.
Real character in the MCU, actually. Real Daredevil character.
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that character. That's a wild character. I kind of wish it went on maybe for another episode or two. But, the storyline is the storyline at this point.
They're doing a lot, and I think they're trying to... I can only imagine how hard it is to try to rewrite and fit everything together. But the tone is completely changed, but it is a little bit more realistic. There are guns in New York. We are talking about, there's violence. And yeah, you could be a villain, but you're not one of these recurring villains.
Yeah.
And
what's interesting thinking about this now, for Daredevil, they went out to up the budget a little bit, considering that out of all of these television shows for the MCU, this is the longest one. Because usually all of them are 6 episodes, unless I'm wrong. But I think they're all 6 episodes at least. But this one's 9. You know what I mean? But I wish this would have went to at least 10 or 12. Because I think they just have more story to tell even for this first season. But I guess that's where you got to leave the cliffhanger for us, right? Or the cliffhangers, I should say.
I think the new wave now is not to give, unless you're doing a Survivor, Love is Blind, Bachelor, Bachelorette, where you can have Big Brother, where you can just have multiple episodes.
Right.
Now, just for the way the model has changed, I figure it's 10 to 12 episodes max.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a season. Then you give people a chance to catch up, gauge interest over the summer, maybe, eat away at it, and then you come up with your next season, and then you do another 10 to 12. I think that's the new model that we're going to be getting. Because, look, Paradise was 10 episodes. And a whole bunch of other shows are just 10 episodes. Game of Thrones was 8. The infamous season 8 of Game of Thrones, I think, was only 8 episodes. And it's, less is more in this case. If they're gonna do it and get it right, I'm confident that this next season is going to be even more intense.
I think unless you're a network television show, I think what you're getting is anywhere from, you're not getting more than 12 episodes unless you're on network television. What are your favorite scenes outside of the dinner scene for Daredevil?
Oh, outside of the diner, I gotta say, one of the best scenes that they put together was when the Punisher and Daredevil interacted with each other. The Daredevil goes down to the depths of whatever to go see him, and they have this classic interaction, because it's kind of go figure, Matt Murdock is the Daredevil, but Punisher is the one that's asking him, don't you want to have vengeance? It's haunting you, isn't it? It's he was his guilty conscience, just going at him, don't you want to go kill people? Don't you want? That's why you're upset. You're holding all this stuff in. You got to let it out. It's kind of Punisher's the dark side that he wanted Daredevil to embrace. Mm-hmm. And that scene, short-lived as it is, just really just came in, and it's It applies to so many, like, it can apply to us in so many times too. Like, that guy just cut you off, and you're just like, no, it's okay. I just want to get home. But then, like, that devil the Punisher on your shoulders, like, don't you want to just go to the trunk and just, like, you know?
I want to play I Ain't Never Scared.
I just want to talk to him. I just want to, like, don't you want to? Just put something in the trunk and then just go for, and handle some business,
Mm-hmm. Well, Michael.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you'll get it later, people. You'll get it later. No, but honestly, that's actually one of my favorite characters in the MCU. First and foremost, because I love the Punisher. The guy that plays him, I think John Bernthal, he does an amazing job playing Punisher, man. Like, he's just, I don't know what the like, if they gave him the role outright or if he had to audition for it, but he honestly, it's like one of the most perfect roles for these characters. He plays it amazingly perfect. Like, when it comes to, like, the Kingpin, him. I mean, there's a few, but, like, Black Panther was awesome, of course. But man, Tony Stark was great. But this is an awesome character. He's an awesome character, man. Like the way, just that little short scene, it just, like, he pulls you in. In. Like, I thought that was just not, even though it was, to your point, it was a short scene, it was incredible. Like, it was incredible because, I mean, like, he's speaking to the depths of Matt's soul right in that moment. He's basically saying, like, basically, what happened to you? Like, we're one and the same. What are you doing? Why are you doing this for?
And why did Daredevil go there, by the way?
You're doing radio edits. You make records for the street.
Yeah. Big Daddy Kane, you're supposed to be, like, Raw. Right. Why are you on stage with Patti LaBelle with Captain Crunch tassels on your shoulder, like, trying to, like, No, this is who you are. Looks like a job for her. Stop shamming. That's who we,
Yep.
Why did Matt go down there to begin with, by the way?
Because he thought he was the one that took out Muse. Not Muse, White Tiger.
Find it interesting that Kingpin goes to Daredevil's girlfriend for a therapy session kind of thing. And then Daredevil goes and gets a therapy session in the basement, like in the dungeons in the bowels of New York from the Punisher, like a lecturing, like a talking to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That was a great scene. Talk about a cameo that just the right amount of cameo for people to be like, I want more of this guy. And we're going to get some, obviously, in the next episode. And
we're getting a full season of the Punisher, I think, in 2026.
Thank goodness we're getting the Punisher in this climate. Yeah. It started to dissipate, and now we might get Yeah.
I think my other scene too was we spoke about this was the last scene in season 7. I keep saying season 7. Sorry, the last scene in episode 7 where Luca gets shot by Devlin and Fisk doesn't even turn around.
These Kingpin scenes, for some reason, his disposition. You notice, like, in nothing, he's eating his dinner, and he has Adam locked up in front of him. Like, he's eating his dinner in front of the man that put hands on his, because remember, she's talking about his hands. He created with his hands, and he's so hands. Like, can we not talk about this with the therapist? And he's, like, eating dinner while he's holding this guy hostage. Chaos surrounds him, and all the time he still remains like, I'm just gonna have my meal. Yeah. Like, he's not panic. The one person that makes him panic, like the one, pebble in his shoe, basically, is Matt Murdock. Yeah. But, like, that scene, Calvin, he's the Kingpin and mayor of New York. He sits with his back to the door of the restaurant. Yeah. Whoever, like, you know what I mean? as Brother Malcolm said, he always sat facing the door so he could see who was coming into, who was
Right.
always coming in.
He's not even
Kingpin
concerned.
is, I'm having my meal, right? And I have all this taken care of, and you're just an actor in my, in my reality kind of thing. That was awesome.
So random questions before we, I guess, wrap this episode up. Oh, actually, here's a random question. How many black women do you know keep the name Kirsten?
There's a lot of different versions of New York. There's like the Seinfeld and Friends version of New York.
As opposed to the New Jack City version of New York?
There you go. Right. Where you can like...
Or the Insecure version of LA, as opposed to whatever show that you watch.
And there you go. There's Woody Allen's New York, and then there's like Nino Brown's New York. Well, Kirsten, who went to law school, and she's partner at the firm and whatnot. Yeah, it'll happen. It's happened.
I guess. I mean, there's 8 million people in New York City. I guess there's got to be one black Kirsten.
A fictional character, nonetheless, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But she was...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Funny thing is, she was there in episode 1 with Foggy at the bar.
Right.
And she's partners with Daredevil not partner, but she's working at the same firm as Daredevil. I don't know what her role is, but pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, I've never heard of a black Kirsten before. I'm like, wow, this is breaking barriers here.
Yeah, no, there are other elements to the show, Calvin, that you could be perplexed about.
Yeah, I guess so. That was one of them, unfortunately. Or fortunately. I don't know. It was one of them. That's how my mind works sometimes. To wrap up, though. Oh, actually, no, sorry.
The White Tiger's murderer is still out on the loose. And you're like, Kirsten? I don't know any black Kirstens. Like, there's a murder on the streets. Anyway.
It's how my mind works. You think Matt should have gone to the black and white ball? Because and I'm saying this only because he's kind of blowing his girlfriend's, cover in terms of who she's with. You know what I mean? By him going to that, you're changing her life. Heather Glenn. Sorry, that's her name in the show. Heather Glenn. You're changing her life. You're changing Heather's life right now.
Her life changed already when Delvin paid a visit with the invites. Delvin?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
True. Yeah.
Because remember, he's like, how did you know she was here? And he's just there smiling, like, nevertheless. Like he just wanted to pop by kind of thing. Her life's changed already. She's already implicated. Now, she's going to be tone deaf. She doesn't realize the complete She's seeing these characters. She's seeing a blind lawyer and a mayor as clients and boyfriend, not realizing that these two are like entwined in this horrible big battle for power and justice and control, behind the scenes. She's seeing, the front facade, basically, the Bruce Waynes of it. So her life's, she could be collateral damage if Kingpin decides like this guy's done too much. And also she knows his secrets. So regardless of whether you signed patient-client confidentiality, that my wife, the only two people that knew that Vanessa was with Adam are in that room. It's her and it's him.
Yeah.
Adam's gone. Like, this could easily, you know what I mean? So her life changed immediately. And Daredevil knew it because he was like, yo, do you have to understand, like, he's not what he, it's not what it seems like. He's trying to come after me. Oh, you're just a lawyer, She doesn't get it, but she will.
Yeah, she will. So, I mean, do you think she should move to Canada right now at this point?
I think a lot of people, I used to think a lot of people should move to Canada, but I think we're good for now. Stay down there, and she'll work things out.
Predictions for the season finale. How do you think Matt recovers from this? I
Well,
mean,
if
he
he
did get
just got,
shot.
so he did get shot, he'll recover because he's been
Yeah.
beaten up before. I think they're probably going to have to do like a few weeks or months later kind of thing because he
Mhm.
can't go back in. He can't go back in action a day after being
Yeah.
shot. So maybe 2 months later, 3 months later, whatever, he recovers, and Kingpin has even continued like to ascend, and the
Right.
people think you're a hero, but he's just recovering and like you know what I mean. Uh, but I think there's going to be some sort of showdown. I think that the vigilante force. Uh, I think there's going to be a battle for that logo. Kingpin's vigilante force has
Yeah.
Punisher's logo.
Hmm.
Think there might be a battle for intellectual property that might need to go down.
Mm.
I
So you think
think
the Punisher
things.
makes an appearance?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah.
Which would be great, by the way. But yeah.
How can it not work out? You know what I mean? If you introduce Punisher in this version of like Hell's Kitchen and whatnot,
Yeah.
if anything, Daredevil be like, let's say he's recovering from his wound, and the city's fallen into a little bit more turmoil or whatever. What if Punisher takes up the mantle of like, I got to ramp it up a little bit, fighting for justice because Daredevil's not able to do it.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Do you think Poindexter, aka Bullseye, do you think there's a scenario where he goes after Vanessa?
So he thinks.
Just to stick it to Kingpin?
So yes, but
Because
he
I think
thinks that.
that could be an angle in this next episode.
So because he thought Kingpin set him up. Because remember when they were moving him to out of what's it called the EHIP or whatever, like EHP,
Yeah.
whatever the
He went to the
special
general.
ward,
Yeah.
and they threw him in Gen Pop, and he's like, I was told that I was, you know what I mean? Like he had a certain set of expectations, and like Daredevil, when Matt was talking to him as a lawyer, and he's like, I have some questions, and then Bullseye was like, I have some questions too. Like it wasn't supposed to go down like this. Like I was supposed to be, you know.
Yeah.
I think he clearly now has a grudge. He was locked away for a while. He has Daredevil to thank. He has Matt to thank basically because if he didn't, and this was in the comics too, um, if he didn't slam his face down to loosen his tooth, he wouldn't have had a weapon to use to escape.
Right.
So that was Matt clearly in violation. I'm surprised this wasn't on camera or something like that.
Yeah.
But if Matt didn't do that, he wouldn't have had the tooth ready to go to murk and escape. His escape was pretty smooth too, like with the
Yeah.
scanning, whatever. Like that was a good one, and I just knew like, okay, he's coming back for revenge. I don't know how he can't die. I didn't figure that out in comics. I didn't think he was like immortal or this incredible
Yeah.
ability to heal, but
He's not Wolverine.
I'm here for it. But now you have another loose end that you need to tie up, kind of thing, right? So that's
Yeah.
awesome because he's just floating out there. Does he work with Daredevil to go against Kingpin a little bit? Does he try to get some sort of power or leverage from the Fisks because you guys did me dirty, kind of thing?
Hmm. Like your wife paid
Something.
you to off Foggy, basically, right? So, but does
Okay.
it get tied up? Does it get tied up in this season? You know what I mean? Like it might not, right? I think that's the beauty of this of wherever this can go.
Do you like how they shot that last episode? Did you notice like the colors that they used? It started with the blue flower. Blue is Bullseye's color, and then when he was up top on the balcony, the lights turned to blue as well. But then
Yeah.
when it's Kingpin, they were shooting it like it was white,
White.
And then anything with Daredevil, there's always a red. There's red in the background,
Yeah.
and the foreshadowing of like Vanessa stepping out in a red dress, red for and the blood, and then but he gets the bullet.
Yeah.
Did you notice? Did you pick up on that?
Yeah,
Like
I mean, they did it for a reason. I didn't understand necessarily what it was for, but they did it for a reason for sure, right? Like that was by design, obviously.
yeah, I think that was a nice touch. It's kind of like the ominous, like if it goes blue, you know, oh, Bullseye might be around, or like certain
Yeah, they're
certain
playing with
points to it.
the palette of colors that end up kind of blending together at the end.
Well done, man. Well
Yeah,
done.
I just thought the
Um,
cinematography in this is for a TV show is top notch.
you know,
This is a
can
movie.
can I pick your brain for a second?
Yeah, yeah. Before you wrap,
Is it very possible that movie theaters are going to be in some serious trouble?
I mean, you're already seeing it, right? And I think in past episodes of the last few years we've been talking about that, and I think the pandemic definitely sped this up, right? Where people aren't going to the movies are quite the same. People like to watch stuff from home. People like to have many options, whether legal or illegal, at home. You know what I mean? So there's many factors that are going into this right now, right? So like, and then you've seen some of the big stars starting to gravitate towards television because of Netflix, and I mean, there's so many reasons, but now with all
Yeah,
these stations having their own little like sub channels like Disney Plus and Hulu and
Amazon Prime, because the
all
boys is
that,
coming. The boys is another one.
yeah.
Paradise is coming back for another season. Is it Severance? I think it was called. What's the
Yeah,
other one?
Severance is another one for Apple TV, Apple Plus
All
TV.
all of these shows, man, and it's like 8 episodes. It's a wrap. But tell me the last movie where people are like, yo, we got to go see blank. Yo, get a babysitter. We got to go watch Coming to America 2. Like what's the movie where people are like, we gotta go see this. I gotta see this in theaters. What movie is it?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if because of the pairing, I'm wondering if Sinners is going to be something that we're going to want to see because of Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. Like their connection for making movies in the last, actually, pretty much every time they've gotten together, it's been, you want to rate it on a music scale, it's been a platinum single, right? From Fruitvale Station to Creed to Black Panther. So while I'm not into horror movies in a sense, I'm interested to see this one because of those two. So that might be, but to your point, that's probably the only one.
Remember, it used to be like, I'm talking like the era of summer blockbusters and like
Oh
this,
no,
like
yeah.
we gotta see.
I mean, there's some movies coming this year, but like I know like a new variation of Superman and all that stuff is coming, but again, we're gonna have to see how it all lays out. Mission Impossible is coming through, so there might
Another
be some.
one?
Yeah, there's the final one apparently. Well, I guess we'll see how Tom Cruise feels about making one more.
Well,
But
isn't
to
it
your
clear that
point,
all these?
it's not the theater is not as heavy as it used to be. That's a
It's
little
clear
like
that a lot of those missions were possible at the end of it too, for its 7 freaking movies. But
I know.
um,
I mean, we're working
yeah,
on Fast and Furious 10 right now, so I mean, it is what it is, right? But I guess to your point, like the movie scene is basically it's lost some weight. It's not as heavy. It's on Ozempic. It's on Ozempic right now.
my question for you: can you rank your top three? Like, okay, your MVPs, basically your silver, your sorry, your bronze, silver, and gold stars of characters for this season. Who do you give the bronze to?
The bronze. That's
And
a
it could
good
be
question.
and it could be anybody. So cameos and like recurring or whatever. Like, who do you give them?
That's a good question. I'm not sure who bronze is. Bronze might be. I almost want to say it might be Daredevil, but I'm going to leave him for silver. But I think bronze might be. It's a good question. Um, that's a good question. Bronze might be Vanessa.
Oh, are you curious to learn more about her and what she was up to while he was away?
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So
I
was
want some
so was
I want some
Kingpin.
flashback scenes.
So was Kingpin. Apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want some flashback scenes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I would say Daredevil is silver, and I think Kingpin's gold.
Yeah, I can give that. I would say I wish Matt had a greater descent, because he does go dark in the comic books. Like, remember we shared the I sent you what the comic book story was, and like the depths of like what Kingpin did to beat this guy down and destroy his entire life. Um, I would say Matt is my bronze. So yeah, Matt's my bronze. I would say my silver would be Vanessa and Punisher. Frank Castle. I put those two because they don't do that much, but man, like they're not on screen too much. They don't have a lot of words, not that much dialogue, but just as auxiliary characters. Stop what you're doing. They're something, you know what I mean? Like they're that powerful. And then of course the MVP is Wilson Fisk.
Yeah,
and everything. 100%. Amazing.
100%. 100% right now. He's at the apex of this series. He's at the apex. Well, you know, that's sorry, go ahead.
Just always remember, the Kingpin was a throwaway character from like Spider-Man 50, classic cover, Spider-Man No More. You've probably even seen it. So Spider-Man's going through some things, of course, as he was back then, and he gave up being Spider-Man for a while because his life was taken, you know, some things happening on the personal side. And there's this garbage can, and you could see his mask in the garbage, like his costume is in the garbage, and he's walking away in this alley in the rain. I think it was in the rain, but that was the first appearance of Kingpin, and I don't think he was meant to have as much depth as he does, right? But like again, good writing, just a vision, like, hey, let me see what I can do with this thing, and you turn like, you know, you make him this mastermind that like he's trying to establish his rule, but Daredevil in the comics has this battle with him, and Frank Castle, Punisher, they have epic battles as too. Like that's his main villain kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, it's a great character. It's a great character. But we'll wrap up on this one though. But brother, thank you as always for hopping on these ones and doing these TV shows because I'm like, you know, I want to tell the people if you get a chance, especially because we weren't doing it on video then, but go back and catch the snow capping. Go snow capping, the snowfall epilogues. Go back and check those ones out. Man, that last season was, and I caught that series late, but I thought that was a fun series that we did together. That aspect that was fun. That was a lot of fun doing that one, and
that was the time.
Yeah, man, for sure. So I mean, that was just a year ago, but yeah, that was fire. And yeah, and like I said, the Daredevil. I mean, we're gonna see. I mean, this episode's probably gonna come out for the season finale. Anyways, we'll probably let it sit for a few days and then come back and drop it on you next Monday or next Tuesday. But that's that. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the season finale, man. And then we'll probably break down another show or two before the year is over. Paradise. I know Paradise. I know it just ended, but I gotta catch up and watch that one before we break that one down. I gotta catch up and watch it, but it looks good though. I did enjoy the first 2 episodes.
I am ready. Like, This Is Us, Sterling K. Brown was one thing. Mm-hmm. Paradise, Sterling K. Brown, and you want to talk about like it. Anyway, we'll get into it when we have to. But very good, and I highly recommend if anybody hasn't watched it yet, please check it out.
Yeah, no, for sure, brother. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you as always. You know, for doing what we do, man. Thank you.
Resident Geek signing out. Peace, man.